Welcome into the channel. What would it mean for the Houston Texans if Will Anderson, the number 3 overall pick of the 2023 NFL Draft, is as special as one of his teammates believes he can be? We're talking about that and so much more today. Appreciate you joining me to talk some Texans here on the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. We have some fun here on the YouTube channel talking about the Houston Texans. I also cover the Texans for my website, Houston Football. www.houfootball.com is where you can find it. The link is below. Also below is that like button. Please hit a like for there and subscribe if you haven't, of course. If you enjoy the content, there's plenty of videos coming your way here on the channel. And share with a friend if you are indeed inclined to do so as well. What would it mean for the Houston Texans if Will Anderson is indeed as special as his teammate Jerry Hughes said he could be? We'll talk about that and what Jerry Hughes had to say here in just a moment. But Will Anderson, through 4 days of practice with the Houston Texans, has been fantastic. He has been destroying plays on a regular basis. If it's a run play, Anderson's there for a tackle for a loss. If it's a pass play, he's putting pressure on the quarterback, or he's getting a sack. Of course, there's no tackling of the quarterbacks, but we can estimate what a sack looks like in practice. In fact, the Texans themselves showed us what a Will Anderson sack in practice would look like. Check this one out. Look at this. Oh, see you, Dalton Schultz. And there's the sack. There's the sack. All right, let's watch that again. Let's go through it in slow motion. Okay? Will Anderson, there's the snap. He's off, chops the feet. Bing, bang, boom. Okay, by Dalton Schultz. Okay, oh, Scott Questenberry's going to try to come block him? Nope. John Mechie's in his way? Nope. And sorry, Davis Mills, you got sacked by Will Anderson. And he is just a freak athlete on the field. I mean, he's all over the place. He's constantly beating he's constantly beating offensive linemen. And he is just so incredible to watch without the pads even being on. Titus Howard's having rough times with Will Anderson. Backup offensive linemen have damn near no chance. And as we mentioned, he blows up run plays. He blows up pass plays. I feel like one of the best plays he's had was he got fooled initially on a play action. And he followed the running back. And then he noticed, oh, well, that's not where the ball's going. He planted his foot. He turned. And it was like that cheetah that sees that animal that it likes to chase down on the Serengeti, and then it was just whoo. It was at Davis Mills right there. Anderson has been an absolute monster so far in training camp. So what would it mean if he was this guy in the regular season? Well, one, it would mean individual accolades. Anderson's got the shortest odds to be the defensive rookie of the year and has since basically he was drafted and he was the first defensive player drafted. So it would mean individual accolades. It would mean a big step forward for the Houston Texans defense. There has not been a dominant individual on that defense since, of course, 99 J.J. Watt was patrolling NRG Stadium. And really, with Watt, he was the perfect combination of pass rush, tackle for a loss in the run game. Like, it was fantastic. That's the hope for Anderson. Now, putting Watt on him initially is not the smartest way to approach how you would think about Will Anderson and his career developing. But let's just say he's the defensive rookie of the year. That probably means a double-digit sack season or something very close. It means that he's been very disruptive in the run game. And you combine that with maybe Jerry Hughes has another throwback the clock year like he had last year. John Grenard takes a step as well. And oh, by the way, the interior defensive line's better. The linebackers are better and the secondary's better. And you can start to see how Will Anderson, while he's not necessarily the locomotive, he is a key piece into this train of a defense going on the right tracks and headed in the right direction. And it just feels so rare to see stuff like this at NRG Stadium, at Texans training camp, because there's only really been one guy that showcased it to this level. And look, I don't want to say that Jadeveon Clowney never had some wow moments in training camp. He obviously did, but it wasn't as fast as Will Anderson showcased it, and it was never as consistent as Will Anderson showcased it. I mean, I go through my little notebook here each and every day, and it feels like nonstop, 51, 51, 51, 51 pressure, 51 sack, 51 TFL. Like, he is constantly annoying the offense, and it feels like they have to play into a great degree. Now, I feel like the offensive line has not played pretty well in training camp just yet. And again, no pads have been on, and defensive linemen tend to take advantage of those no pad situations with offensive linemen. So maybe we'll have a readjustment and a reassessment of exactly how well Anderson's doing once the pads come on, and maybe it'll be a little bit of a wake-up call to the NFL for Anderson. But let's hear from his head coach. And it's worth noting, D'Amico Ryans and even Nick Caserio, they don't really go out of their way to individually praise players. Even when asked about players, a lot of times it leans towards the, oh, well, he's doing his job well, or, oh, he's a type of guy that we can trust to get better every day. That's not quite the case when D'Amico Ryans talks about his big-time defensive end that is a rookie. Here's the Texans head coach on Will Anderson.
You know, the impact that he's shown is just he is full speed every rep, right? He plays with the intensity that I love in our defensive end and what we'll need. So, and it's encouraging to see his effort, his tenacity every single day. Never takes a play off, hates when we try to give him a rep off. He gets mad at the coaches. So it's that mindset that we knew Will had when we drafted him, and just excited with where he is right now.
That's D'Amico Ryans on Will Anderson, courtesy of the Houston Texans. And again, glowing, over the moon, and the big smile. D'Amico doesn't do that for every player, so it showcases really exactly what Will Anderson has been able to put together in training camp so far. So the title of the YouTube page, or the YouTube clip here, is, of course, about Von Miller. Where does that come from? Well, it comes from the teammate of Will Anderson, the veteran, Jerry Hughes. Jerry Hughes, listen to how he talks about Will Anderson so far in training camp.
Have someone who's just eager to be out there on the field early. And then, too, I mean, he has that Von Miller abilities, just how great he is with his hands. He's already fast, and he's able to kind of set up some of his rushes off of his speed already, so that he's able to kind of understand that game. It's going to be tremendous for us. And then how he's just picking up our defense, picking up the small things of how to attack the ball as a defensive lineman. You know, we always emphasize turnovers. That's going to really help us be the defense that we want to be. And you see a lot of our young guys picking up on that, especially Will, and that's what you want to see, especially up front. There's just someone who can slow down the game, but then also utilize his God-given ability and then put some technique to that as well.
Jerry Hughes dropping the Von Miller abilities. The Von Miller abilities? Are you kidding me? Von Miller was fantastic, has pretty much been fantastic his entire NFL career. He's almost always a Pro Bowler. He's been an all-pro player a bunch of different times. And his rookie year, he was the Defensive Rookie of the Year with 11.5 sacks, a couple of forced fumbles, and again, all-pro second team his rookie year, was a Pro Bowler his rookie year. And he's had a couple of all-pro teams and some all-pro second teams in there as well. A couple of Defensive Player of the Year second place finishes for Von Miller as well. So that's lofty praise. And Von Miller is a bit of a different type of pass rusher than Will Anderson, obviously. Von Miller's a bit more freaky athletically than Will Anderson is. But Will Anderson had more production in college than Von Miller. Miller played 4 years at Texas A&M in the Big 12, and he finished with 33 sacks in those 4 seasons. Anderson played 3 seasons at Alabama, played as a freshman, and had 7 sacks, and finished his career with 34.5 sacks. So there's a lot to like about that Von Miller comparison. And again, I don't know that Jerry Hughes is really saying or even hoping that Will Anderson's going to be Von Miller, but to have that type of impact, okay, to have that type of impact that Von Miller had, which was a high-level, productive, right-away defender, not just a pass rusher, but a defender. If Will Anderson is that for the Texans, the defense is going to benefit greatly because they haven't had that type of guy and don't possess anybody with that type of potential on the defense as a whole. And then the other part of that aspect is it's going to make it a lot easier to have seen the vision from draft night when they trade a future first-round pick, their own future first-round pick, the Houston Texans do, to go get this guy. It's easier to see that if he has that big productive year, regardless of the record. Though, if that defense gets much better, you would anticipate that the record is going to improve as well. So I loved hearing that comment from Jerry Hughes. Obviously, the Von Miller comment makes you raise your eyebrows. D'Amico Ryans effusively praising Will Anderson. It's a fun watch every time he goes out there. You're looking for 51 anytime the team drills show up, anytime that, there's going to be something where 51's on the field. It is almost must-watch moment at training camp, and it has been fantastic to watch through the first couple of days. Now, again, no pads. Texans offensive line, not the most incredible offensive line. He's gone against some backup offensive linemen as well. But you beat who's in front of you. You start stacking good days. You get better. You're productive. And I'd rather a guy be awesome in practice right away than stink in practice and have to get better. So very excited to see what Will Anderson does in pads. Very excited to see what Will Anderson does in any preseason game action. And then the joint practices, 51 is going to be a very fun one when the joint practices get to the Texans training camp, when the Dolphins show up in the middle of August, and then the Texans head down to New Orleans to take on the Saints in some joint practices as well. It's going to be fantastic to watch 51 in those. And, of course, I'll be there for all of it. Your great support makes it possible for me to cover the Houston Texans each and every day. So I appreciate you watching this video. And, again, I'd like a subscription down below if you do so feel inclined. And, of course, www.houfootball.com is where you can find all my writing. It goes right to your email, right to your inbox. You get it before social media gets it. And I have a ton of fun stuff planned over the course of the season. And, of course, the daily training camp observations as I'm there at every training camp practice. Appreciate you watching them. We'll talk Texans again soon.